All right, it's 2 p.m. Thanks everyone for joining. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Scott Strassmeyer. I'm the Senior Associate AD for Sports Information here at the Naval Academy. We've got Mr. Chet Gladchuk, the outgoing athletic director in Navy, who's been here for 24 years. He's the second longest tenured athletic director in the country. He's going to give an overview of the process, and then we'll have Mr. Michael Kelly, who is the 29th Director of Athletics at the Naval Academy. He'll give an opening statement, and then we'll open it up for questions. I'll go down the line and call on you. First time through, if you could introduce yourself along with your media entity, that would be great. We'll do 2 questions each to make sure everyone has a chance to at least ask 2, and then we'll go back around if we have time. So, Mr. Gladchuk, go ahead and you can start us off.
Thank you, Strauss, and thanks, fellas and ladies, for being a part of this. I really appreciate it. It's a wonderful day for us at the Naval Academy, and especially in the NAAA, to have come to this wonderful conclusion. That being Michael Kelly and his accepting the position and taking on the reins as president of our association and our 29th athletic director. It's been a privilege for me to be in this chair for all of these years, but there comes a time when it's time to turn things over and gain some new momentum and some new insights and new vision. So I decided in the latter part, or maybe early spring, that it was appropriate to move on. And in that time frame, which was between April and May, those 2 months, we engaged, I think, the premier search entity in the country, and their track record certainly speaks to that being Turnkey. One of the gentlemen that is one of their lead administrators, Chad Chatlos, assisted me through the process over the 2-month period. We convened a screening committee, extensive screening committee that consisted of internal members of my senior staff. We also had a number of alumni, foundation, academic oversight involvement, faculty involvement as well. So through that period of 8 weeks, 9 weeks, to narrow things down. Does somebody have their speaker on in the background or something there?
I muted them. You're good. I muted them.
All right. There were a number of candidates, some very, very, very prestigious individuals that showed significant interest in the position. We were honored with the number of people and the quality of the people that were attracted as a candidate, for the situation here at Navy. We interviewed each and every one of them. We, of course, interviewed Michael Kelly a number of times. And we're extremely impressed. I think that it goes no further to say that his resume and his accomplishments, his involvement, not only at USF, but nationally, are just extraordinary. Just what we were hopeful for at Navy. Someone of his integrity and his influence on not only his institution, but on the national scene. With that, we came to a conclusion that Michael was the right person for the position. Fortunately, I've known him for many years, and of course, I'm going to concur with the consensus of our group, and I moved that forward to the superintendent, who endorsed him over the last day or so, and here we are today. So it was a educational process for sure. A wide array of varied insights, perspectives from so many different people, but there was no one that came close, to right on the target, right on the philosophical target than Michael. And he just is a perfect fit for us, and we couldn't be more excited that he's going to join and provide leadership, to 1,500 deserving midshipmen in the 36 sports. So thanks, Strauss, for the opportunity to share that with the group. Anything else?
Yes, sir. Michael.
Well, thank you, Chet and Scott. Thank you, and for all that taking the time to join us today. I'm appreciative of getting a chance to meet you and looking forward to working with you. But as has been expressed in some of my comments previously, this is a joyous day for me. It's been a personal and a professional aspiration of mine uh, to receive this position and to join this one. As you may know, my father was a graduate of the Naval Academy from 1967. His last station, if you will, was in Annapolis when I was born. I was born at Bethesda Naval. Spent early childhood there, and all my formations of values and certainly my exposure to college sports was through the eyes of the Naval Academy, and that's something that kind of prospered and inspired me for the rest of my life to date. Interestingly, I naively applied for this job back in 2001 when I thought I had the chops to potentially be eligible for this, and an AD that I looked up to named Chet Gladchuk obviously earned that position at that point in time. I had first met Chet in my first job ever as an intern at the CarQuest Bowl when Boston College defeated UVA when Chet was the athletic director there. So I knew of him and met him then, and uh, saw and was not surprised that he got the job back in 2001. I say, hey, maybe I'll be ready for it the next time it pops up in a couple of years, and I'll have earned some more experience. So little I know, there'll be 24 years later, and I would continue to try to earn a lot of different experiences to prepare me for this. But honored to be here, and really excited about the opportunity there in Annapolis.
For those of you who jumped on a little late, um, we will call on you. Two questions each. First time through, please introduce yourself along with your media entity. Mike James, you lead us off.
Hi, Michael. It's great to meet you. I'm Mike James from Rivals.com. You've had a lot of success with fundraising and capital projects at USF, but it's a very different school. It's a large state school, really metro area focused public school. How is that experience transferable to a smaller service academy environment with a different alumni base and a different mission? And what changes and what stays the same in terms of your approach?
Well, a lot of the success we've had recently in the fundraising arm has really come from great alignment with the university and with a foundation structure, both from athletic fundraising and with the university fundraising that have worked so well as a team. And my observation of that is very similar, as you more than you might expect to the Naval Academy, who I think has got the perfect structure in terms of the great leadership from the Alumni Association and the foundation, and how they work closely hand in hand and collaboratively with the folks, in athletic fundraising with the Naval Academy Foundation. So that collaboration and that alignment, I think, is very similar, and one that I think has allowed me to emerge as a successful candidate here. You're right. This is a state school, and there's a different mission. But USF's been on a great mission academically, and recently becoming an AAU institution, one of the fastest rising to ever reach that. And a lot of the fundraising that you're speaking of has been really focused on some necessary capital improvements, as you mentioned, new locker rooms for football, improvements to all facilities, a new indoor performance facility, and just recently having started construction on a $340 million stadium and operations building. So the great thing about the Naval Academy is they focus so much on not only the support services for budget for the midshipmen to flourish in the 36 varsity sports and also the club sports and the whole physical mission, but have also been able to do some amazing things to the facilities and really provide what is obviously one of the most beautiful campuses on earth in terms of the yard, but also the athletic facilities being second to none. And that's what's happening here at USF too, in terms of the focus on capital projects to build what I think will be a very great athletic district. So long-winded answer to your question is that I think it's more alike than unalike in terms of the approach to the fundraising that we'll continue to do at the Naval Academy, and just find ways to inspire and support and salute the various alums of the Naval Academy and try to find their passion for whatever sport or interest they might have in furthering the mission of the academy.
So there's a lot of talk about college football playoff expansion and moving, 14, maybe 16 teams, and along with that, there's a lot of talk about where Army Navy fits into the calendar now. How important is it to you and to Navy to kind of protect Army Navy's kind of unique place on the calendar? And do you see a path forward where the game maintains that standalone status without being overshadowed by the postseason?
Man, that's an excellent question. Obviously, that's vitally important to the Naval Academy for sure. I was in the room as a staff member of the ACC when the BCS was kind of changing around, and I remember the discussion of how important Army Navy was at that time. I was around on the staff of the CFP when the current scheduling of where Army Navy fit in, and Chet was such an advocate. Former Commissioner, American Commissioner Oresco was a strong advocate, and ultimately we landed where we are. So the interesting thing to your question is that number one, I do think it's great and important for the expansion to happen, mainly to make sure that Navy and all the American schools can maintain a reasonable access point to make sure we can get to the college football playoff. And then as that goes hand in hand, as they decide dates and windows, those are things we're going to have to fight for to make sure, ideally, the date can be left alone for this national treasure that the Army Navy game is. But certainly, at least preserving the right type of time window that is exclusive so that the nation can put their eyeballs on, again, this great American tradition.
Thank you.
Bill
Thank you.
Wagner.
Hello, I'm Bill Wagner from the Baltimore Sun and Capital Gazette newspapers. Good to see you, Mike. Welcome
Nice to meet you, Bill.
aboard.
Thank you.
What led you to want to pursue this job? I mean, obviously, you had a good position at USF. You were there for 7 years doing some good things. Why come to Navy? Is because of strictly because of your background and your father being a Naval Academy grad and having affinity for the institution, or what attracted you to the Naval Academy?
Well, really, the whole package of it, as I mentioned, it's truly been a lifetime aspiration for me, both from what I observed as a child to my upbringing in the area to my professional career. Just realizing that while it's in and of itself an outstanding athletic director job, but it obviously even gets involved with a bigger mission and a mission of everything that the Naval Academy stands for in terms of developing leaders. That obviously not only prepare officers for the Marine Corps and the Navy, but it's been amazing through the process and what's obvious from the Alumni Association and everything else, just how impressive and how widespread the graduates of the Naval Academy are and the success they have in all realms of life. So being a part of that from a bigger mission applies to me, or just appeals to me, and I know how special it is. It's not lost on me that there's only been three athletic directors in the Naval Academy since I've been on this earth. It doesn't come up open much. It's because it's a great job. I'm sure it's one that when you fully are aligned with mission, that you never want to leave it. You want to keep serving what the staff of and faculty at the Naval Academy does. You're right. I have a great job here at USF. I've been here for 7 years. I've never applied for another job since I've been here because I'm very passionate about what USF is accomplishing. And I know with the roster of head coaches that we have in place here, with the senior staff that's in place here, they're going to continue to flourish and continue on a great trajectory. But this was a situation where it's just the right fit at the right time for me, fulfilling a lifelong aspiration. And it's kind of ironic in some ways. While it's full circle for reasons we've talked about here to go to the Navy, it's very rare that someone could do the same thing here at USF because I was here earlier in my career under the great Leroy Selman when we were just starting football. And for me to have come back here 7 years ago and kind of complete a circle there to kind of continue on some improvements here is very meaningful to me. And to have another chance to do it on a true full life circle is, I pinch myself realizing how fortunate I am. I look forward to making the Academy proud, just as I feel I've made USF proud in terms of what we've accomplished in the last 7 years.
So obviously, it's a unique job in some ways. The Naval Academy Athletic Association being a private entity, and that's a little bit different than at a public university. How much are you going to rely on Chet Gladchuk, his 24 years of experience in that chair, and getting to know the ins and outs of the NAAA, the whole situation at the Naval Academy, how athletics intertwines with the mission of the institution? How much are you going to rely on Chet early on?
I'll rely on Chet a great deal and certainly appreciative that he's still going to stay involved, particularly with these critical capital projects that are still ongoing, the relationships he has that he can, be able to introduce me to. and continue, all these important projects. You can't be building the kind of things that are being built at the Naval Academy and just suddenly, leave things hanging. And so to be able to learn from him, be able to be adjusting to him as we fly is really, really important. So I'm looking forward to that. I will say this again, just like I mentioned to Mike's question a little bit ago about probably the fundraising strategy that I admire from afar watching at the Naval Academy. And as I said, it's something similar to what we've adopted here at USF the last couple of years in terms of the alignment between the general university foundation, if you will, here and athletics. I think the same thing will hold true here in the NAAA. We've recently done the same thing here at USF, looking at these modern times in college athletics. We've adjusted all of our commercial operations to an athletic association here at USF and everything else. Navy has done great things in its history, and certainly in the 24 years under Chet Gladchuk, and part of it has been that great structure of the way the NAAA has adapted over the decades, and now has really become, I think, a model way to do business as it relates to current college athletics, and sets it up well for the commercial activities that are so vital to the academy, including the obviously Army Navy game, all the activities at Navy Marine Corps Stadium, all the different things that are going, any event that we can be a part of that helps meet our commercial activities and helps keep the Naval Academy Athletic Department as self-sufficient as possible. I think that's awesome to be more self-reliant, and that's what the structure that Chet has set up has allowed us to do.
One note, Chad mentioned Chad Chatlis at Turnkey. Chad is a 1993 graduate of the Naval Academy and was co-captain of the 1992 football team. Scott Wyckoff.
Yeah, Michael, I'm Scott Wyckoff with WBAL Radio in Baltimore. I know how important it was for you at USF to build the roster of varsity athletics and add teams. How excited are you in this challenge of working with 36 varsity teams in kind of the unique situation you're coming into at Navy? How exciting is that?
I appreciate that question. It is very exciting, and it's something I should have mentioned in my earlier statement. That's another thing that really appealed to me about this job. I know in an era where maybe people are cutting opportunities for athletes when they're cutting sports for different reasons. Naval Academy is one of the largest, I think tied for the largest in Division I in terms of varsity sports at 36, 15 club sports. So when I just think about the whole physical mission, when I think about being able to serve that many student athletes, and I love the whole amateur model toward it. I love the expectation to win and everything that's surrounded the academy right now. And so just like we've tried to do here, we've recently added 2 new sports at USF, and recently adding beach volleyball and women's lacrosse during my tenure. I'm really glad to see opportunities always being available for student athletes of all sports. And that's what I think continues to be special about Navy, to still offer opportunities at the D1 level for 36 different varsity teams is amazing. I think it's awesome. And then for those that aren't able to play at the D1 level, or it's just not capable for their sport, to still have an amazingly talented and competitive club sport program and intramural program hey, it's all part of the physical mission. It appeals to me, and I've been familiar with it my whole life, and I think it's an awesome, awesome thing to be a part of.
And how attractive to you is the uniqueness in this new NIL age of the way the service academies are right now in the new age of NIL, how they differ from other institutions?
I think it's fascinating. Obviously, I've had a lot of experience in my career here to serve on the NIL task force. I've served on the Division I council. I'm working on a doctorate that deals with the current current disruption in college sports. So it's something I've studied closely, and frankly, it's just a fascinating time in the history of college athletics. And I think when you kind of contrast what's happening in terms of the potential of revenue sharing, if the House settlement is approved, and everyone that we're adjusting our budgets here at USF and everywhere else, people have to play to their strengths, identify the budgets that they need to be successful. But I think what's fascinating, I think it's not coincidental in my mind to see the type of success that Navy had last year, and even to the rivals of West Point, in a year where there's a lot of disruption, and to see those 2 teams win 10 games plus, go to conference championships, win bowl games. It speaks to a really interesting study over the next couple of years about, hey, what is player development? What is continuity? What is retention? What is leadership? What is teamwork come into playing to the whole expectation to win? So it's fascinating to see. Obviously, it can be done a lot of different ways, but I love the whole player development concept and the ability to be able to recruit a high school. And I think that's a new strength at the academy, and we are doing that here at USF too. As power fours of the top level really spend more of their time focused on transfers and maybe kind of taking the best of conferences, in terms of all conference team players and that sort of thing. Whereas at other schools can probably now recruit a little bit higher level of high school athlete than first imagined, and then also being able to provide that young man or young woman the kind of the confidence that if they do their job, if they stay committed to their training and their coachability, that they have a much greater chance of probably being able to evolve up into being the starter they envision whenever they're appropriate to, as opposed to maybe being supplanted by someone that slides in at the last minute in the kind of free agency era.
Thanks, Michael. Good luck.
Thank you, Scott. Look forward to working with you.
Joe Miller.
Hi, Michael. Joe Miller, Navy Radio Network. Nice to meet you. How much was the connection there between Navy and South Florida and the AAC scene? I know you obviously talked about your personal connection to the Naval Academy, but how much did that connection in recent years, seeing where they were at as a fellow member of the AAC conference, how did that help your decision-making process?
Oh, it certainly was another added factor to when Navy came into the league, when Army recently added to it. I think that just speaks to the leadership of the American previously with Commissioner Resco and now with Commissioner Pernetti. It's everyone in the American admires the Naval Academy. Everyone in the country admires it. And to have them a part of their league, I think they not only see that as an awesome way to interrelate with one of the finest institutions in the world, but it's something that you just want as part of your conference. So that was certainly the case here as we looked at it from a seat of USF to respect and be a part of the Naval Academy, and of course that was part of it. I'm glad that I'm not necessarily leaving the conference to still do it, because I know, and I've heard certainly from every AD in the conference since yesterday's news, that how much they admire the Naval Academy and are so glad that they're part of the American Athletic Conference.
When you think about your professional history and the different jobs that you've held in the different places, what are some of the strengths that you think you're bringing to this position and to this job, that you think, when you look over the next few years? I know we're just getting started, but what do you think that some of those strengths will lead to for you as what you're looking forward to doing at the Naval Academy?
Well, I think that beyond kind of the unique fits that we talked about from a background standpoint, I think from a professional standpoint, why I feel I'm a good fit for this is really the variety of experiences. The Naval Academy is a very unique institution, and we're in very unique times in college sports. And when you enter that, I think you need folks with a lot of different relationships, a lot of skills, a lot of abilities to get answers and be as nimble as you can to adjust. And and from my vantage point in a career, I've been in communications for a bowl game. I've worked for a Major League Baseball team. I've run 3 different Super Bowls. I've run a Final Four. Been in a conference office in terms of serving those 15 schools at the ACC at the time, serving all 10 conferences and schools as a chief operating officer of the college football playoff, understanding the mega event aspect of all of those, which is so vital, particularly your question earlier about Army Navy and Navy Notre Dame and those things. And then obviously my time here actually in a AD seat at a major, Division I institution here at USF, all that kind of spills to like, look, I feel that it allows me to be a great listener, a great learner, a great adapter, to serve our student athletes in the right way, to put them first, to be able to understand coaches and be able to collaborate and relate to them, to understand what their priorities are. And I view it as my job to provide those the necessary resources to reach those priorities to the point that makes us successful in the competitive environment that we're in. So a long-winded way of saying, I just feel that the variety of experiences allows to be maybe not to necessarily be master of any one thing, but hopefully very proficient in many, and it allows us to really be a great team. And when I look at the staff that's been at the Naval Academy for so long, the awesome coaching roster, the amazing student athletes, hopefully I can, and obviously the way you represent the alumni and the fleet as a whole. I think it just takes someone that can kind of interrelate, communicate, and be able to lead and to serve in a way that can be successful.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe.
I believe I called on everyone who had their camera on. If you have your camera off and still have a question, go ahead and shoot me a note. Otherwise, I'm going to go back around and start one more time. We've got about little less than 10 minutes left. Mike, James.
So you mentioned your experience managing events, like the Super Bowl, like being part of the Final Four. Army Navy site bidding is going to be coming up again soon. And how does your background in managing those national events, how does that shape what you'll be looking for in some of these bids and what makes for a successful event, in your opinion?
Well, that's a great question. I think a lot of my experience, I think my candidacy was probably largely successful because of some of that experience I've had at the ACC. I was responsible for where the different championships went from a football standpoint, when that came about, and then certainly at CFP. Being responsible for the site selection process for not only identifying the New Year's Six Bowls when it was originated, but also where the national championship game went for the first, I guess we did it for the first 10 years in terms of finding sites. So, it's a fine balance between making sure we honor the tradition and achieve the important traditional aspects of what the Naval Academy and Army are looking for. But then you have to balance that with the obvious needs for revenue and expense reduction. And I think they've done it masterfully in times of moving it around recently in terms of being in Washington, being in Baltimore, obviously Philadelphia, Boston. So there's a lot of things we just have to look at. And I think finding the right balance to take this great game to different cities when it makes sense. But the key is to make sure that the experience for the midshipmen, not just the student athlete midshipmen, obviously, but for the whole brigade to get where they need to do to have an outstanding experience for our alums to experience that to the fullest, and then obviously to be able to produce the right revenue without taking away the specialness of what the Army Navy game is to this country. So I just feel that learning from what's been done in the past and from leaning on some of the things I've learned in Super Bowl bids, CFP bids, and will serve us well as we navigate through the next couple of years of where Army Navy will be.
Wags.
Well, obviously, you have familiarity with the American Athletic Conference, and Navy's a football only member, but all of the other sports are in the Patriot League. Do you feel that that's something you're going to have to get, kind of familiarize yourself with the Patriot League and all the ins and outs of that?
Well, somewhat. Obviously, I've been studying that for a while in my role not only on the D1 Council, but also as the current chair of the Sport Oversight Committee, which basically is all the different championships in the NCAA Division I format besides football and basketball, has allowed me to learn a lot about a lot of the conferences, and obviously the Patriot League being one of them. Obviously, I think as we look toward future models of college sports, I think once again, just like the formation and the expansion of the NAAA, I think it's been masterfully done for Navy to be placed in football in the American and to have most of the rest of the sports in the Patriot, because it's just great regionalization. It's great, great academic institutions that make sense, and we're able to get to places regionally and challenge and be in great position to win championships, which then further gets us a chance to go to NCAA championships. So to me, that's all part of the mission. Playing, somewhat like-minded schools. I know there's very few to be completely like-minded to the whole military mission, but academically minded, regionally minded. I think it's a great setup, and looking forward to be a part of not only the continuing relationship with the American, but also with the Patriot League as well.
Interestingly enough, Army West Point just hired a new athletic director about 4 or 5 months ago, and it's that you guys are going to start your journey together. And although they are rivals, they are partners with that important Army Navy game. And as Mike James mentioned, you all are about to begin a new process of bidding for the Army Navy game. How quickly do you want to get up with Mr. Theodorakis and talk to him and catch up with him?
Well, Tom did reach out yesterday when the news hit, and he and I have been, acquaintances for quite some time. So I look forward to being able chance to work with him. I know we'll have a collaborative nature as it relates to our business connections in that regard. I was actually college classmates with the previous athletic director at West Point, Mike Buddy, when we were at Wake Forest together. So a lot of familiarity with those folks, and again, yeah, we're competitors, and obviously in the greatest rivalry in sports, but obviously we're aligned in terms of making sure that's that game and the other games that we play are an important part of both the Star Series and obviously the Army Navy football game. So I'm looking forward to working with Tom. He's a great person and someone that I know will work well together.
We have time for maybe one more. Scott Wyckoff.
I know you've talked a lot about the culture of the academy and growing up around that. How important was it that the team that Chet has put together, not only his coaches, but his fellow administrators in your decision making to look down that roster that you're going to come and join?
Well, it meant a lot because again, admiring it from afar and knowing what I do know internally, when you can look at culture and see staff members that I mean that there's been a lot of staff that have been there together and have worked really cooperatively for quite some time, which just shows that they want to be there. They believe in the mission. When you see coaches that, obviously are very, very expert in their own right, but obviously they came there, they could probably be a great coach anywhere, but they chose to come to Annapolis because they believed in Chet and the superintendent's vision. They understood the mission. And again, there's some things that happen there that are obviously compared to some other coaching jobs might be more difficult, but when you play, you got to look at it. How do you play to your strengths and look at how to make it successful and to buy into realizing that that's your approach to this and your lifestyle and your commitment is a little bit different vision. That's a part of the mission of recruiting at the Naval Academy. You've got to find not only talented athletes, but ones that want to be a part of something special and are playing the long game for not just what happens in the next 4 years, but really is what's going to be a lifetime. What does a degree from the Naval Academy do for you for life? And when you buy into that and buy into the whole service of your country, those are the special men and women that come there. Those are special men and women that work there. And, certainly that played into me being a part of this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I think that'll do it. I appreciate everyone for joining today. Thanks Mr. Gladchuck and Mr. Kelly for coming on. We are going to have a meet the athletic director on Tuesday, June 24th at 2:00 in the C section of the banquet facility there. Pretty much where we do the Navy Football Media Day. So again, that'll be Tuesday, the 24th of June at 2:00. Media will be welcome, and we'll have even a chance to have a longer conversation with Mr. Kelly, and I believe his family will be there as well. And then we'll have this video up here on Navy Athletics YouTube shortly. If you need the copy emailed to you, just shoot me an email and I'll send it to you. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.